Hey, this is Eliza Niels, and you're listening to Danny Coleman's Rock On Radio. Turn it up.
Bruce is, before he leaves, he's giving us a flashlight. Does that mean you're going to turn the power off on us, Bruce?
That's right.
That's true.
To see the coyotes.
Here in the hinterlands. Welcome to Rock On Radio. I'm your host, Danny Coleman. Producer Claire is with me.
I am.
Speaking of the hinterlands.
Yes.
We, on our way in, and this is just in Bruce's
backyard.
We saw a deer with a grapefruit-sized growth on its face.
And who he said has been around for a year or so.
Right. Then we saw a bunch of little ones. Mm-hmm. And they were in places we usually don't see them.
Well, it's October,
on
November.
The house lawn, front lawn. And then there was a big buck.
I like
Had to be at least
bucks.
an 8 up. Wow. At least an 8-point buck.
I only saw the tail.
And he was like king of the forest, man. He was broad too. His shoulders were.
His tail was like big tail.
Big buck. Yeah. That's just all part of the scenic allure of this palatial estate that you.
Yes.
Oh,
they're animatronics. He's into animatronics.
He's got them on rails, and he pushes them out whenever somebody comes
they're
by.
coming. It's Walt Disney.
All right. Once again, welcome to Rock On Radio, which is sponsored by Lillipies of Princeton, located at 301 North Harrison Street, inside the Princeton Shopping Center. What are you doing?
I have a big knot in my hair. I'm sorry. Ow. Go ahead, continue. Go on.
Well, you're over there pulling your hair out. I'm thinking already?
Yeah.
It usually takes you till the second hour before you start doing that.
I don't know. I'm getting an early jump.
Fine. Jen makes. I need some sourdough. It's that time. I was thinking about the sourdough muffins.
Oh, English muffins.
Our English muffins, yeah. The English
are
muffins. Good. Oh, yeah. 301 North Harrison Street. Jen makes hand grenades of happiness and fantastic baked goods, and we eat them till we explode. O'Connor's American Bar and Grill of East Hampton, Mount Holly, New Jersey. The official caterers of the Rock On Radio Christmas Spectacular and beyond. Which, Asbury Park Vibes, AsburyParkVibes.com if you were a band, solo artist, author, anybody who is in the entertainment world, or maybe not even businesses, realtors, whatever, and you need headshots or websites, bios, press releases, anything. See Doug and Diane at Asbury Park Vibes, located on Main Street in Asbury Park, or by going to AsburyParkVibes.com. Now, I did those back-to-back for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to Diane
on
Saturday or Monday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that we have the space once again.
Yay.
For the 16th annual Rock On Radio Christmas Spectacular. Woo-hoo. So it is confirmed.
For what day?
Well,
we're not gonna announce it.
No.
Okay.
But the Christmas Spectacular this year will air on the 22nd of December and then on the 29th of December.
Okay. Put out the word.
So if you are a musician or anyone who's ever been a part of this program and you wish to show up at the Christmas Spectacular, private message me or email me at DannyColeman'sRockOnRadio.com or you can go there, which will kick it to my actual email, DannyColeman'sRockOnRadio@gmail.com. Or you can go through Facebook. Go through the website. Go through our Facebook page, which is Danny Coleman's Rock On Radio 2, the number 2. Instagram and Twitter at Rock On Radio. And I'll make sure that you will be surfacing at the Christmas party.
I'm surfing at the Christmas party?
Yes. I'm setting up one of them big
Hang
wave
10.
machines. Correct. Yes.
I'm hang 10. I'm surface. What'd you say? I was surfacing? I was not paying attention.
Do you see this?
I forget also.
See? Well, you were saying something. We were surfacing at the party. Well,
I said, if you wish to come, I will make sure that you can surface there.
Is that a word?
Yes,
Does that make sense?
You will arrive. You will show up. You will
I
come
will
up from below. You will. Now I
better
gotta
off hang down.
Do I look like Noah Webster? Don't answer
Yes.
that. Yeah, I went to school with him. I know.
How old is Noah Webster?
1,000. Anyway.
You went to school with him.
Sinister Footwear. Go to sinisterfw.com and check out some of the fantastic, crazy, wild socks. And Tina's got a massive Halloween selection.
Yes, she does.
And you go to
That's
Sinister Footwear, sinisterfw.com. Use the promo code DCR Socks, and you'll get 10% off of your order.
Yay.
Phoenix Art Supply and Framing. You can frame your socks. Phoenix Art Supply and Framing.
Or your Phillies jackets or whatever you have, Phillies, what's the word? Uniform? Was it Phillies or Flyers? It was the Flyers. Don't you have someone's
Flyers
jersey?
A number 16 Flyers jersey signed by Bobby Clark.
There you go. Is that different than Bobby Hull?
Bobby Hull played for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, see, we had, when we were kids, my brothers were big.
Bobby Hull hockey.
Yes,
Yeah.
we had the Bobby Hull hockey thing.
Tabletop hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
I
We
remember.
were really,
Yeah, it was a
Wonder
lot of fun.
whatever happened to that thing.
I don't know, but they're fun to play.
They are. It's only Bobby.
And it had
I
like
know.
the scoreboard over
Yeah,
top.
over top,
You
yeah,
dropped
until-
the puck in
that's
there,
right.
and it never came out the way it was supposed to.
Well,
Shot
until we
across
broke
the
it.
room, yeah.
It was just, my brothers
Anyway.
were rough on it.
So Phoenix Art Supply and Framing, located on Route 611, otherwise known as Southeastern Road in Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Many thanks to Chuck and Jenny Schaefer for sponsoring Rock on Radio. And if you spend $200 or more on framing, you will get a coupon for $40 off.
Mm-hmm. It's pinned to the top of
Celebrate
our
their 40
page.
years in business.
Just go
Phoenix
to
Art Supplies and Framing. New Jersey Stage. NewJerseyStage.com. If you're there right now, you could be listening to this show by clicking on AsburyMusic.com or thepenguinrocks.com. Okay. You all right?
I'm good.
Okay, good. Dee Dee's Lights. I took 2 candles. One for Floyd
Oh, nice.
and one for
Tara Jean.
Tara Jean when I recorded the podcast with them. I'm going to be on a podcast, by
You?
the way,
You're going to be a
for
guest?
Dining Out New Jersey, the magazine, on WJRZ. I think it's the 27th at 8 o'clock in the morning, I think you said the website
It's a Sunday.
says.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to send me the information, but myself, Floyd, former Rock on Radio co-host Christine Floyd, who now does the show with Tara, the podcast,
Oh, cool.
from the studios of WRAT in Belmar. And it's funny, they actually let me in.
Wow.
Yeah. Matter of fact, when she introduced me, thank you so much for coming. I'm like, thank you for finally getting me through these doors. But, and Cal Schwartz is on there with me.
Nice.
My man Cal.
Your other co-host.
Another co-host. It was like every Rock on Radio co-host known to man was
who
there.
co-hosts with Tara Jean
On New Jersey
on New Jersey.
Discover.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's right. So it's like the whole little cute little square thing going on there.
And I took them Rock on Radio candles that Dee Dee made from Dee Dee's Lights.
Nice.
They opened up the lid and they're like, wow, that's powerful. So,
That's good.
yes, Dee Dee, Dee Dee's Lights, the official Chandler of Rock On Radio.
Yes, because we
Just like Old Heights Brewing, the official beer provider of Rock On Radio, located at 119 West Ward Street, directly behind Randy Now's Man Cave in Heightstown, New Jersey. The Jersey Shore Jazz and Blues Foundation, jcjbf.org.
JSJBF.org.
Is that what I said?
No.
No? What did I say?
I don't know. Go back and listen.
I got to rewind stuff
Yes, you
that
do.
I'm recording live now?
That's right. Jersey Shore Jazz and Blues Foundation. JSJBF.
BF.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got the
.org.
BF right.
Anyway, go there. Claire and I are card-carrying members. I will be emceeing a benefit at DJ's in Belmar on November 9th. Supposedly with somebody from WRAT. I'm not sure. But it is a veterans, to help our veterans
cool.
benefit. So
Nice. Very good.
that'll be that.
Are you perplexed at what else?
I am.
Sandy?
Sandy Hall Music. Yes, Sandy Hall recently signed with the very place we are sitting in right now, the 2-track studios of Deco Entertainment, Sandy Hall Music. Go to sandyhallmusic.com. You can find her album Full Circle, or you can get it by going through decoentertainment.com.
Yay.
Many thanks to Bruce and Charlie for allowing us to invade this space every Wednesday to put the show together.
That's right.
And they also allow us to air it on decoentertainment.com.
They do.
So you're either listening to it on the Penguin Rocks or decoentertainment.com or one of our fantastic affiliates here in the U.S. or the several we have over in the U.K. Hello, U.K. friends. Hello, U.S. friends.
Goodness.
And that's that. Did I miss anybody?
I don't know. I really wasn't.
Paying attention again?
Well, coffee-wise,
Well-
coffee-wise, we'll wait and see.
Yes.
There's a new transition.
I received 2 nice bags of cigar blend
Yay.
from Matt at Monkey Cold Coffee.
Who survived the hurricane?
He did.
I think.
But-
I did text him.
But the problem is that they have to retool and rebrand.
Right.
So I think this past Monday was the last day
Yeah, they put out
for
there's
you
a big
to order, and they're going to be shut down
big
for a
announcement.
short period of
Yep.
time. But when they come back, have to check out their artisan coffees.
We'll keep you up to date right here.
That's right.
Stay tuned.
And I think that's it. Right. And once again, they can find us where, Claire?
Go to DCROR.com, which is the short link for Danny Coleman's RockOnRadio.com.
There you go. Well, we have, on Rock On Radio, how we like to change things up sometimes.
You do. I'm just here for the ride.
Well, no,
I just
because
push the buttons. You're good at that.
people, and I'm cheating here.
You're cheating?
Yeah, imagine
Did
that.
you do research?
No, I just opened this up when we got in here. That's why I brought it along.
I read it, so I
know,
did
yeah,
research.
Well, that's why you're correct. You are the yin to my yang, or
I'm
whatever.
correct. What?
Yes, I tell you that all the time.
Okay, good. Go ahead. Go research.
Thank you very much. There is no research. I'm not even looking at it. Just
You're gonna
yet.
guess
I'm
what
gonna
it says?
cheat in a second. Yeah, I'm going to be like the great Karnak. I'm going to hold it up to my head. Sometimes we do switch things up. We've had comedians on this show. We have had actors and actresses. And we do get the occasional author.
We do.
However,
It's exciting.
this gentleman
Doo-doo-doo.
is more than just an author.
Yeah.
This is where I cheat. Because I couldn't memorize this because I'm old.
It's true. Very true.
He is an award-winning music journalist. He apparently is kind of specializing a little bit in our New Brunswick music scene.
Oh, cool. Making waves area.
Yep. He formerly covered the New York Giants and professional tennis for a pair of sports publications.
Nice.
And he worked in radio. Which is why I can't even look at him. He's probably dying at this moment. Like, what is this? You know? But he worked for WFUV and WCBS News Radio.
Woohoo.
And he is originally from Monmouth County, New Jersey. Please welcome Mr. Bennett Kelly.
Hey. Thank
Nice.
you. Thanks for having me.
Most importantly, he's the author of Sensation Blues, which we are going to get into in a bit and
That's right.
dissect. And how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you. This is a real treat. So thanks.
To be on radio.
You say that now. But, okay. When you and I spoke a little bit back, you were calling me, I guess it was on your lunch hour or whatever, from Dow Jones and Company.
That's correct.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
which is where my work career began once I got out of high school. That was my first full-time job ever, was Dow Jones and Company in South Brunswick. And so I thought, okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
You know,
nice
I
little
like that.
Kismet there.
And you work there now.
Mm-hmm. I was there
So
today.
prior to all that, though, I don't know you other than the few times we've spoken. Do you know him?
No, I even worked in that building for a while. I
Wow,
worked at Harbor
look at this.
Collins. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So
That's right.
see,
But somewhere in between. So it's,
okay,
Yeah.
All right.
but no, I do
There's
not
a
know.
triangulation.
We
there.
should we should have done this from South Brunswick.
That's
We
right.
should have.
You guys should have came to me.
Exactly.
And so take us on Bennett Kelly's journey.
My journey.
I mean, let's hear about you before we begin to dissect the book.
Sure. So, yeah, WFUV up in the Bronx. That's where I went to college, Fordham.
Oh,
Mhm.
right.
I was in the sports department there, though, not the music. You know, they have a very big music, news, and sports, divisions. So I was in sports. I got to travel with the teams. We would go to, like, Texas or Pittsburgh, and I'd be there with the basketball teams. I was a producer. I would do the wires and stuff. Wasn't really on air, so this is kind of fresh for me, being on air. I was more behind-the-scenes guy. But worked there for a while, for 3 years, and then that translated to a production job at WCBS, News Radio 880,
Nice.
which is a great news station that just shut down
Did.
about 2 months ago. Yeah, it's been taken over by ESPN Sports, I think.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, that was a bummer, but because that's a great station. I still know people that work there.
Right.
And I was doing the overnight stuff there, usually midnight to 8 a.m. or 4 to midnight. So that was a interesting year. And so, yeah, that's my radio background. More production and not so much on air. So trying to work out my vocals. They did teach us at FUV how to be on air. So I know how to raise my pitch a little bit here and there.
Get the
just to
cadence
keep it
down
fresh.
that
Yeah.
they want you to have.
Try not to mumble, which is a thing. I tend to do it sometimes, but not today.
No, not today. Today you're on.
But you know what the beauty of that is, Bennett? If you do it today, it's okay.
That's right.
That's true. No one's gonna
Exactly.
be barging into my
That's
house
right.
late at night, arresting me for that. So
If
They
you look
might be.
back at some of the radio programs that or some of the big radio personalities, so to speak, Cousin Brucey in the shock jock or not shock jock, boss jock era, Jim O'Brien. And then you come fast forward with the Don Imuses and the Howard Sterns and they didn't have a cadence. They just got on the air and they started talking.
But they had a voice for radio a lot of times.
yeah,
Because it was
there's
their
voices.
personality.
Yes. They knew how to pronounce things and how to not take a breath every 30 seconds and so on and so forth. And some people, I mean, I do some interviews. And you wouldn't hear them say I mean, we all do that, but you don't want to do it 45 times in a 10-minute interview, you know. But those people were successful because they really they were trained, but they also had just a casual
that's true.
look at things. You know what I mean?
I think of one DJ at WCBS was Wayne Cabot. I don't know if you know him, the morning guy.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandparents loved him, so it was nice working there. And I wouldn't see him too often because we had different shifts.
Mm-hmm.
But I would see him every once in a while, and I'd always have a little story for my grandparents, a little update on Wayne Cabot.
Yeah, he's a very personable man. I've met him.
Yeah,
he's very nice. Isn't he really tall?
Really tall.
Yeah, he's really tall.
6'5" or something.
Yeah, he's very tall and thin. Yeah.
But a great voice.
Yes.
You know, some of those radio voices, they stick with you.
Some people just have it naturally, too.
And it's recognizable. You don't want to sound like everybody else either, because you want to be able to say, "Oh, that's so and so."
And one of the things I got,
cousin Brucey.
I do a blues music show on a college radio station, which gets a lot of 95% of their content from an NPR feed.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And the gentleman that follows my blues show every Monday night, when I go off the air at 8 o'clock, he comes on. His name is Michael Stone. And Michael has jazz this hour. Then you listen to whoever does the 2 o'clock jazz show, and it's like, hi, this is the 2 o'clock jazz show. and they all kind of sound. So when I started working there, they had no idea what to do. I was told they need to tone down my poisonality. I was like, then I can't do this.
That was your badge of.
You're a blues guy, not a jazz guy.
Exactly.
Right, I'm a blues guy. And before we go any further, we should thank Mr. Macon.
Yeah.
Bennett
Thanks,
is here
Bob.
because of Bob Macon. How do you
Awesome.
know Bob? Just from covering the New Brunswick scene?
Yeah, I reached out to him over the last couple of years for, stories that connected to him or vice versa, and just struck up a little relationship. And when I was doing some promo for this book, he was one of the first people I reached out to.
Nice.
Seeing if he had any interest in covering it, and he referred me to contact you.
Yeah.
And so, thank you, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Bob Macon.
Woo.
There you
Great
go.
music journalist.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
definitely.
I like it.
Yeah. Bob Macon. He came to our 15th anniversary party too.
Yes, he was at the 15th anniversary
Yep.
party. He was at the
Christmas
show.
party. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he's on NJ Stage too, so
Yes.
shares that site with you guys.
Yep.
Yes,
He
sir.
does.
He writes for Gary over there at New Jersey Stage.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So, tell us then who you are. Are you a musician?
No.
Okay. Are you a lover of all music and blues in particular, or are you a blues rock kind of guy?
Yeah, blues rock. I kind of find a good way to describe it is I like guitar bands. I
Okay.
like seeing what people can do with guitars, whether it's blues or classic rock or punk. I just kind of gravitate towards guitar bands. And I'm not much of a player. I think, how some people, it's like he has a 6th grade reading comprehension and he's in the 8th grade. I'm like, I have an 8th grade guitar comprehension, so it's not very advanced. I can play your basic chords. I can learn like some riffs in the afternoon or whatever, but that's not my bag, as they say. So, but I come from a family of musical people. My dad is a really great guitarist. My brother also plays guitar, and he and I took lessons when we were younger. He's 2 years older than me. So he stuck with it. He's very good. And so I feel like this is my contribution instead. So instead of playing, I got into music journalism because, I couldn't, music was always there for me as an interest. And writing was as well, more of the sports thing when I started out. But it just made sense to kind of sync those two together. And that's how I got here.
Nice.
But yeah, I had some friends that were playing in bands up in New Brunswick, so I thought, okay, there's probably some stories there. They have some music coming out. And then I got more into the history of the New Brunswick music scene because there's a lot happening now. There's tons of bands coming out of there now, but there was probably an even bigger scene back in the 80s and 90s.
When
And
the Court Tavern was in its heyday.
yeah, Court Tavern heyday, places like the Melody Bar,
Mm-hmm.
the Roxy. There were just, a dozen places above ground that you could play. There were bars and clubs then. And so it was a really vibrant scene, and it still is today, but because they carry on that tradition. But it's more underground now, where it's in, basements and show houses. So it's more of probably of a who how to get into a party like that. So a little different scene, but the musical spirit is still really strong there. So there's a lot going on, a lot of good bands coming out of there.
Now, I see it says you're from Monmouth County.
Yeah.
What drew you to New Brunswick?
What drew me there? I didn't go to Rutgers, so it wasn't that. But I think just being local. I lived in Princeton actually for most of my 20s after college. So Princeton's only 25 minutes or so from New Brunswick. So I came out here and had some friends that I would go to shows with and kind of get more into it. And because I think if you're in high school and you know about Rutgers, there's a music attraction there. So I always knew about it, and then I was able to meet that curiosity and start going to some shows and just see what it was about. And then when it came time, actually when I was thinking of this book, I knew that some of it would be in New Brunswick, so I just needed to get in there myself and kind of make my way around it, the present and the history of it too.
Okay, so if you're just tuning in, I'm Danny Coleman, the host of Rock On Radio with producer Claire, and our guest is Bennett Kelly, the author of Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel.
Nice.
Correct. So what led you to become a writer then?
Well, I feel like I was always into it in school, good at coming up with interesting and funny little pieces here and there. So I always felt like I had a knack for it, but there was really a couple books that kind of made me think I could pursue it. And I was 18 and I was reading Jack Kerouac's On the Road, and it just kind of connected with me, like going off into that sense of adventure and exploring things and just who he was as an individual. I sort of thought, this is interesting. Maybe I can do something similar. So, of course, when you're in college, you can write little things like that, where you're, little party stories or just little knick-knack stories. So I've always kind of kept at that. And then also in college is when I started doing the sports journalism. So that was a key thing for me, able to publish some things and kind of work on the craft from there. I was writing about the New York Giants, and they were good then. So that was fun. And then tennis too, because I was a tennis player. So I would write about pro tennis. I'd write about, just picked up a contact and would submit a few articles every so often. And so I had these writing samples out there. And then I remember I told my boss when I was at WFUV, I said, I want to be on the New York Times bestsellers list by the time I'm 25. And that obviously did not happen. But when I turned 25, I had finished a novella, an unpublished thing, and I actually printed it out that day for the first time. So that was a fun little milestone, internally. Mm-hmm. And I've just kind of kept at it. So yeah, kind of did sports journalism for a few years. Then I got more into creative writing, and then this project came into my head, and I've been working on it for like 7 years.
Cool.
Okay.
And doing the New Brunswick and music stuff along the way.
So tell us about Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel. Is it based in reality of any sort? Or is it strictly fiction? Is it a combo? Is it creative writing? What do we have here?
Yeah, it's a combo. It's set in the present day. It's set now. And because some people wonder, oh, is it set, maybe in the 30s or 40s when blues was really kind of becoming a national part of the national awareness. But no, it's set now, so it's a contemporary book. I've been describing it as like Catcher in the Rye, but just soaked in blues music, like Muddy Waters, Son House, Robert Johnson. And I say Catcher in the Rye. I don't think, that's an amazing book, but that the kind of character that my main character is, he's a high schooler. He's about 16, 17, and he's looking for his passion. And, he's from Clarksdale, Mississippi, which is the birthplace of the blues. So that's where the book is set. So, and when you're down there, blues is everywhere. So it can kind of fill your head with, just with blues. So that's where it's set. And my character's kind of on a blues journey. He's kind of a punk sometimes, but he means well. He's chasing his passion. Things can get in the way. People can get in the way. But he's pretty committed to blues, and he's kind of a guitar whiz, and it's just about how you can fine tune that and become what you want to be, and some obstacles along the way, which you'll have to read about when you read the book. But yeah, Catcher in the Rye, because he's kind of a punk that you root for, and then blues music everywhere, and I find it's something that I would want to read. One of my other absolute favorite books is called The Commitments by Roddy Doyle, who's an Irish author, and it came out around 1989. And
Wasn't there a movie?
Yeah,
there was, and it's a great companion book and movie, like one of the best combos that you could ever read and watch. So I love both of them, and that's just a really fun book. So this should be fun in that style as well, where they're doing Dublin soul. They brought like James Brown and Wilson Pickett music to Dublin in that book and movie, and I wanted to do something like that, where they're singing songs, or they're playing songs at least, and I wanted to do it for blues music, because I love blues music. I always have, and I just felt like there was a void, and I saw it out to fill it myself with this one.
How'd you get exposed to the blues?
The blues, it goes back to my dad, and when we were young, I remember being in first or second grade, and he and a couple other dads in town started the Fairhaven Blues Club, Fairhaven being my hometown, Monmouth County, and it started out, it was just, I think, 4 guys, and everyone would bring over a blues record or CD, and they just listen to music and stuff, and then it became like the cool dad group in town. So then I remember one of them, there were like 20 or however many fathers there, and probably some wives, just listening to blues music. And I would be there because I was like 6 or 7, and I'm just hanging out. So I was exposed to that stuff, and like, who are these guys named Muddy Waters or B.B. King? Just cool, really cool names. And then you're hearing the music, and it's just all these people are enjoying the music. So I kind of just got into it at that age. So I was always exposed to blues music. And then, but it's not just that, it's also, we would listen to oldies stations. We would listen to Beatles a lot. Like, I'm a huge Beatles fan. And I attribute all that to, just being exposed to it at a young age. It kind of sunk in.
I was in a band, and the gentleman, I remember one day after practice, we were sitting out back on my patio, having a couple of beers. And the one guitar player said, well, rock and roll is nothing but blues music. If it wasn't for blues, there'd be no rock and roll. If it wasn't for blues, there would be pretty much no music at all, other than classical.
I shudder to think what it would be.
Right. And I remember looking at him thinking, shut up. And then as I started self-analyzing that, I'm like, son of a gun, he's right. Because here I thought, if you don't grow up exposed to the blues, like my mother loved Elvis Presley. Well, to me, the person who wrote, created Hound Dog was Elvis Presley. Wrong again. Big Mama Thornton. Jerry Lee Lewis, the way he played was picked. Johnny Cash, the way he played, it was all picked up from the Southern Delta blues.
Mm-hmm.
My mother also loved Creedence Clearwater.
Keep on chuglin'.
Yeah, things like Chuglin, Run Through the Jungle, Put a Candle in the Window, Midnight Special. I mean, they just keep going on and on and on, which is... So at the age of 12, when I was handed Led Zeppelin 4 for my 12th birthday by my older cousin, and I'm listening to, like, I Can't Quit You, Baby, I'm like, whoa, this Led Zeppelin, man. For 5 years, I thought that was Led Zeppelin. And I was like, wait a minute. It's like Willie Dixon.
Yeah.
Then you're kind of forced to kind of look back as to where that music came from.
Yeah, exactly.
Which traces you back to blues. So the fact that you were exposed at a younger age kind of gave you that appreciation of where it came from. And you didn't have to wake up one day and say to yourself, you dummy, that's not Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, because it's all there in the liner notes. You'll see, Stop Breaking Down by the Rolling Stones, but it's written by someone named R. Johnson.
Right.
And so then you have to track that person down. At least that's how my dad would discover that stuff, because he'd be buying those records when they came out. But yeah, that's one good thing about the blues was the kind of the 60s revival, because it pointed people back to the original artists while also, expanding on the sound. So I like a lot of I like seeing, Jimmy Reed songs covered by rock and roll bands or
Right.
Other artists like him, like Willie Dixon. He's been covered, and he's really a partner of Muddy Waters. So, but he's more unsung because he was on the production side, or he wrote a lot of these things, but not the performer of some of his his contemporaries. But he's a big one as well. He's in the book a few times.
One of the greatest interviews I ever did was James Cotton.
Oh, nice.
And I could have sat there. It was very hard to understand him because I have this bad habit of interviewing people for my column, and they die within like 6 months.
I know, isn't that bizarre? And you feel guilty. Yeah, I know. That's strange.
But, I mean, I'm glad that I got to speak to them before they passed away. And the stories of, like, him playing with Muddy Waters and with Son House and with, all these old blues guys were just, then he had his own band. And it just absolutely, I could sit there for hours and listen to them. So when you were writing this book, what kind of research went into it?
Well, a lot. I didn't want to just riff off the top of my head, so once I had the idea, I kind of sat down and wrote a couple-page treatment of where the story was going, and then I set off and kind of researched and read things for a year. So I read a lot of biographies, even people like I read Willie Dixon's memoir. It's called I Am the Blues, and then others, like I read Keith Richards' book, which I think came out around like 5 years ago. It's awesome. Chuck Berry's memoir from I think like the 1990-ish was so funny. Like if you know Chuck Berry as a lyricist, he's that way as a memoirist, and just like you're cracking up, and he even would rhyme things in paragraphs and stuff. And you're like, how does he do this? So, and others like the Neville Brothers. There's a great kind of oral history of the 4 or 5 of them kind of telling their stories. It's called The Brothers Neville, actually. So yeah, I just kind of set off to read stuff for a year so I could kind of talk authoritatively somewhat about stuff, and also pick up little important biographical details that I could then weave into, kind of fill out some of the details of mine. I'll give an example. One is a Robert Johnson book I was reading. Robert Johnson being, probably the preeminent devil mythology figure of the blues. He was born in 1911, and he died at age 27. I think
Yeah,
he's
he
the
was
first 27
He was-
club guy.
Yeah, it was, thank you.
And,
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, but he was contemporary of Son House and Charlie Patton, two of the original Delta guys.
Right.
And he was an okay player, but then he kind of disappeared for a year, and then he came back, and he was, just blew everyone away. And he would say, what changed? He's like, well, I sold my soul to the devil. And he would play that up, but really he just went off and practiced. And he would do it in a graveyard with his teacher. And that becomes scenes in my book. And they refer to it, my main character, McKinley, named after Muddy Waters, and his uncle Ira, who I believe was Robert Johnson's teacher's name. But Ira takes him off to a graveyard. It's kind of late at night. Their parents won't let him practice, so they go to a graveyard, and they talk about it. Like, why did I bring you here? Well, it's because we can practice uninterrupted for 8 hours straight. No one's gonna hear us. You kind of pick up the spirit of things. So little details like that to fill out a blues novel and kind of set me on my way. That was the kind of research I was doing for that first year.
And
Also, another key one was Paul Robeson, who's
Okay.
a Princeton native, Rutgers alum.
Yep.
And I got into him, and reading about his story kind of gave me inspiration for who McKinley is, and his brother, especially his brother character in this book too. And so like you can just pick up things from reading. That's kind of how you learn anyway. So I had to learn all these things and kind of let it fill my head for a year, and then I was off to the races, which was like a 6-year race. So
Right.
it took forever.
Which the Arts Council of Princeton is located in the Paul Robeson building
Yes, it is.
on Witherspoon and Holefish streets.
Right across from the
Yeah.
library.
And I was living
Library.
in town, and I didn't know who Paul Robeson was, but then you're like, oh, why is a street named after him? Why is his birth house still here? Why is the Arts Council? So then you find, you take the plunge, and that's why it's good to name streets and buildings after influential people.
That's right.
And he's having a nice
Right.
couple of years. He's back in the national psyche a bit. So
Yeah, that's
And
true.
what's his our Grover Cleveland, the president, is buried right across the street in that cemetery.
Yes.
Oh,
in
really?
Princeton.
Interesting.
yep,
I didn't realize that.
Aaron Burr as well.
Aaron Burr's in there too.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know
Ah.
that.
Well,
Ah,
Grover Cleveland is his birth house is from Caldwell, and that was where my college was. So
Nice.
we always had Grover Cleveland's birth house. So now is
And his gravesite.
now is death.
Okay.
I see. Now we do have a couple of
Songs, yeah.
songs.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
what
have
was about
a
to
Paul
say.
Robeson.
Oh, yeah,
one.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the other cool thing about this song, this is called Old Man River, and it's about the Mississippi River, so it ties into my story, which takes place along the river. And yeah, this is from about, I think, Carnegie Hall in the late 50s, when he was late 50s himself.
Yep.
Nice. So here we go. Here's Old Man River.
There's an old man called the Mississippi. That's the old man I don't like to be. What does he care if the world's got troubles? What does he care if the land ain't free? That old man river, he must know something, but don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling. He keeps on rolling along. He don't plant potatoes. He don't plant cotton. Them that plants them is soon forgotten. But old man river, it just keeps rolling along. You and me, we sweat and strain, body all aching and racked with pain. Tote that barge and lift that bale. You show a little grit and you lands in jail. I must keep fighting until I'm dying, and old man River, he'll just keep rolling on.
There you go.
Nice.
Now, you sent me a lot of music, Bennett. We're here with Bennett Kelly, by the
Yes,
way.
we
We come
are.
back. You sent me a lot of music, and each one of the tracks you sent me has a correlation or a connection to Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was that one?
That one, I thought it would be fun to put Paul Robeson on radio, so I had to just kind of
Never go wrong.
call my shot with that one.
Never go
But
wrong.
he's really a very influential figure to me. He's a person who was a valedictorian of his high school and at Rutgers, where he was also like probably one of the best football players in the country in his time. And then he went to law school. While he was in law school, he played the first 2 seasons of the NFL. Then he also started acting on Broadway then. Then he became a world-famous actor and singer. And then he became a very important civil rights activist in the 30s and the 40s and into the 50s, which he was then kind of blacklisted in the McCarthy era. And so the whole 50s were kind of a wash for him. They took his passport away. He was kind of non grata. And then they gave him his passport back, but he and his wife got ill pretty soon after that. So he kind of just faded away. And people are making that right nowadays. Like even in New Brunswick, they just unveiled a new statue of him yesterday
Really?
in Feaster Park. And they're painting a mural of him at the football stadium, which I think it might be coming out this weekend.
The Rutgers one?
I saw the announcement recently, Shy Stadium or something.
I never know how to pronounce that.
Yeah.
Shy.
But he's someone who's coming back into the national consciousness as someone who should be celebrated. And I'm just glad to do that in my own little way. So his character kind of informs 2 of my characters in my book. And in fact, Paul Robeson he did so many amazing things that if I made it one character based on him, it wouldn't really be believable. So I split him into the 2 brothers, McKinley, and then Paul Robinson. So pretty heavy-handed, who he's supposed to be in that one. And he's like the
McKinley.
football star and the academic whiz. And then McKinley gets the musical talent. So
Right, McKinley Morgenfeld. You know who McKinley Morgenfeld is?
The protagonist in his book.
You want to tell her, or should I?
that was Muddy Waters'
Real name.
real name.
his
Muddy
real
Waters.
So that's where McKinley came
His
from.
son tours now in the name of Mud Morgenfeld. So
I see.
So yeah, that was Paul Robeson. Obviously not blues. So if you came here listening, hoping to listen to some blues, we do have some more. We got a lot more.
Sure.
how can we find this book? Do you have websites, social media? Anybody who's listening to this is interested in you or the book? How do we find you?
Sensation Blues, you can find it on Amazon.com. It's ebook and paperback form. And then all fall, I'm at pop-up events at record stores. Like we had our launch party last weekend, or this past weekend in Princeton.
At the IVN in Princeton, huh?
World famous IVN.
Oh, yeah.
Best bar that I've ever been to. And like I said, this Saturday in New Brunswick at the Great Spina Records. And then I've got some in New York and Philly and even, I think, a couple more in Jersey or New Hope. I'm trying to lock in a New Hope one. Date to be determined. But so I'll be around. But other than that, people can find it online on Amazon.com. Just Sensation Blues. Bennett Kelly is the author name. So
Bennett with 2 N's and 2 T's.
and 2 E's.
That's right.
Yes.
Did you ever hear that thing with was it Richard Pryor? He did Idi Amin Dada.
Idi Amin Dada.
2 A's, 2 I's, 2 E's, and 1 gun.
Right.
That's what that reminds me of.
So since you really didn't have any character study for the book other than the blues musicians and things, how did you develop the characters?
Well, it's also a good family story. So I mentioned my brother. We're very close. We're like best friends. And you could look at this as a tale of brothers, how they're pretty devoted to each other. And specifically, I was the younger brother. My brother went off to college and I was a junior. And I remember one night he called me like the first week he's at college. And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to this party and, life is good, blah, blah, blah." And I was sitting there just reading my summer reading, about ready to go back to junior year. And I was just like, this sucks. I wish I was there. And here I am just reading a book that I don't care about. And that's sort of a how it goes a little bit in the book. He's missing his brother. How do you fill the void in your life when someone like that, not like he's gone, but he's out of his life. And what happens is, in the first couple of pages, his musical uncle Ira, comes in and fills in that void and says, "I heard, Paul says you want to play music. Is that true?" And McKinley's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, let's go. We need to go do it right now." So it's about those are 3 of the main characters. Good parents, a couple little sisters, some school people. He's got some friends, the vice principal. He's always running into the vice principal. And so yeah, those are the character story. McKinley and Ira probably get the most screen time here.
Now, is this your first book?
I wrote a novella about before I started this one, and it's unpublished. It kind of just taught me how to do it, what I needed to do, how to go about it. So technically, yes and no. First published book. But I did write something that I was like, okay, this is how you structure something longer. This is how you can set something up early and pay it off later.
Right. Well, one of the blues, we kind of touched on it earlier. And all of the blues musicians I've ever interviewed or been friends with or part of, jammed with, whoever it may be, we all are pretty much of the same consensus that blues music is cyclical. Like in the 40s, coming out of the Delta, blues music had a presence. Then when it invaded rock and roll, and you had that whole Sun Records era of music in the 50s, people didn't think of blues as blues. They thought of rock and roll.
Rhythm and blues, yeah.
Right,
R&B.
Somewhat even, yeah. Then in the 60s, with the reemergence of bands like the Neville Brothers and Chuck Berry still going forth and becoming prominent again, and then B.B. King coming out, and you had the Al Greens and so on and so forth, and the Marvin Gayes. And then Motown kind of took over. And then in the 70s, you really didn't. Then you had your hard rock bands like Led Zeppelin and the Stones, and where they kind of rose to prominence. But nobody associated them really with blues music. Then in the 80s, though, you had Stevie Ray Vaughan. You had the Fabulous Thunderbirds made a comeback. But again, Stevie Ray Vaughan, yes. The T-Birds, no, because the T-Birds are doing songs like Wrap It Up and, oh my God.
The Sam and Dave one? That song?
No,
Rufus. Who did that?
Are Tough Enough and so on and so forth. And then the Blues Brothers come out with that movie and brings, Cab Calloway back into the cycle. But now blues music is starting to come back, and with this younger generation, with the Christone Kingfish Ingrams of the world, and so on and so forth. So where do you fall on the blues scale? Now, I know the recordings that you sent me. You like the old blues, the new blues, the Delta blues, the scratchy stuff, Charlie Patton blues.
Yeah.
Where do you fall, and how did that play into the writing of this book?
I think I fall into the Chicago vanguard group of musicians, being
The
the
Buddy
first
Guys and
electric, the first electric guys. Because I listen, the way I structure the book is, Ira's going to teach McKinley what he needs to know coming from Clarksdale. So it starts with the scratchy stuff, Charlie Patton.
Right.
Those songs are very scratchy, just recordings. But then you got Son House and Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson's recordings are from the 30s, so they're pretty raw but clean. And then Son House, he's got a mix of both because he's got those field recordings from the 40s, but he also sort of got re-recorded, rediscovered in the 60s.
Right.
So he's got a little mix of both. But I really I feel like I like the swinging blues of guys like Freddie King or Jimmy Reed. I don't know if swinging is the right term, but kind of like, early rock and roll kind of bluesy stuff.
Blue Bland.
Mm-hmm. So I like, I probably gravitate most towards that area. Bo Diddley. I love Bo Diddley. So like if I'm going to listen to music for an hour, I might put one of those guys on. And then I also really love early rock and roll, like Chuck Berry. Just there's so much, and he doesn't have a lot of blues, but he's got a lot of rhythm and blues, and that all works for me. And if you follow the continuum of that, you get your Delta blues. A lot of them moved up to Chicago, and then the chess record scene, which Chuck Berry was a part of, so he's a chess guy. And then once it it changes after the 50s and 60s, just because people's tastes changed. And blues probably hasn't been at the top of the mountain since then, but you do get people that come up and make great music still. So it's still alive, as Buddy Guy will say, and he played with guys like Muddy Waters. I think he was Muddy Waters, one of his studio guitar men or early guitar lead guys, and then he still takes young guys like Chris Stone, Kingfish, Ingram under his wing, and kind of gets the next generation rolling with what they need to. So
now Kingfish, I just sent you something too. Right?
I got it.
Now Kingfish, when not this year, even though there was a representative of Clarksdale at the Jazz and Blues Festival this year, Claire and I MC the Jazz and Blues Festival for the Jersey Shore Jazz and Blues Foundation in Long Branch every year. And not this past August, but last year, Bubba from Clarksdale.
Bubba O'Keefe?
Yep.
Yeah.
Bubba was there. And he had come up because Christine Zemla, they have a connection. And they bring an artist up from the Delta. This 2 years in a row now, they brought an artist up from the Delta to perform at Monmouth University.
Was it Anthony Sherrod?
That was the first one.
Yeah.
Big A.
Big A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then last year was this past August was Lala Craig and Element 88.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar.
And when I was talking to Kingfish, I said, Bubba from Bubba? I know Bubba. Everybody knows Bubba O'Keefe. Did you talk to him at all for this book?
Yeah, I had a cup of coffee with him last December in Clarksdale.
Okay.
And I remember, so Clarksdale's a really awesome town, and blues tourism is certainly, it's certainly a big part of Clarksdale. So you go down there and you meet people. I was telling some people what I do, and one of them was like, "Oh, you got to meet Bubba." So I go, "Okay, I'll try to track him down." And then I'm sitting at Red's Blues Club one night. I don't know if you've been down there. And this guy comes in with a couple of tourists, and we start talking. And I go, "Oh, are you Bubba?" Because he's like the head of Clarksdale, Visit Clarksdale Tourism. And so, I thought it was great that we connected right at the stage, the little carpet stage of Red's. And then we ended up having coffee, and really nice guy. Like the people down there are just so incredibly welcoming and want to talk and promote the blues, right? And just talk to blues fans. So it's just a wonderful place. So I knew that they've come up to Jersey a couple times, so I gotta get involved a little bit.
When we're done here tonight, we'll talk about that. Well, you have something by Kingfish.
Yeah, let's play the Kingfish song. It also features Buddy Guy, who also a big inspiration in this book as a character.
There you go.
It's called Fresh Out.
No coffee for my breakfast, no butter on my roll. I ain't got a drop of milk for the cornflakes in my bowl. I'm fresh out. Baby, I'm all fresh out. Ain't had no loving since the day, ooh, girl, you went away. I'm fresh out. No jelly in the jar, no flour in the sack. I ain't got nothing cooking, babe. Please, won't you come back? I'm fresh out. I'm all fresh out. Ain't had no loving since the day, ooh, girl, you went away. I'm fresh out.
I drank up my last bottle of Johnny Walker Red. Nobody in this big house but me in my empty bed. I'm fresh out. Baby, I'm fresh out. I had no loving since the day you went away. I'm fresh out. Yeah, no doubt. I'm fresh out.
What's going on, y'all? This is Chris Stone, King Virginia, and you're listening to Danny Coleman's Got the Blues.
I had to throw that in there,
Nice.
even though it's not Got the Blues.
That's
But
right. It's kind of.
Yeah, nice. Chris Stone. I've seen him a couple times. The first time, my dad, my brother, and I, when I was 22, we went down and did a blues trip. We went to New Orleans, then Clarksdale, then Memphis, 2 nights each. And we stumbled into Red's Blues Club, and we see this kid playing blues there. You know, Chris Stone, he's a striking figure, and he was like 14. And we go, what is going on here? And then we sit down, and he just, you know, he blows you away with his playing. And then we got to observe his career kind of blossomed from there because by the time he was probably 17 or 18, he was really on his way. And so that's been great. I've seen him a couple times since then in New York, in Ardmore, Pennsylvania. They have a theater there. I got his autograph at that one. And I was like, hey, I saw you at Reds like 8 years ago. And it's just great. And that song's a lot of fun. There's blues where, you can have deadly serious blues. You can have Death Letter Blues by Sunhouse. Or you can have fun songs where it's like, I'm fresh out of milk and my cereal. And I'm also fresh out of love because my babe left me. So I just always, there's just a lot of joy in the blues a lot of the time. So it's a good
I like the
balance.
potato chip song. But just thinking about potato chips.
Yeah, chips,
Potato chips.
dead shrimp, hot tamales,
Grits ain't
A lot of food,
groceries,
yeah.
fish ain't,
Wide
crawfish.
TVs.
Right. Grits ain't groceries, eggs ain't poultry, and Mona Lisa was a man. That's
And then I picked that song by Chris Stone, Kingfish, because it's got Buddy Guy featured. He was singing the latter verse. And as I mentioned, Buddy Guy is a good person of bringing the next generation along. And he influenced a character in here. If you turn to the back of the book, the guy on the back cover is Carsick Edwards. And he's a fictional character. He's kind of modeled off Buddy Guy, like he's pushing 90, but he's still putting on crazy shows. And he likes taking young blues characters under his wing. So he's an inspiration for a character in there, Buddy Guy.
Nice.
I know our friend who we were just talking about and opened the show tonight, Eliza Niels, every time she goes to Chicago and does the gig in that area or whatever it may be, she always goes to Buddy Guy's and she always lets Buddy know she's coming. And every time he makes sure he's there and he yanks her up on stage.
That's
And-
cool.
Yeah, it is. But once again, I'm here with Bennett Kelly. He is the author of Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel. Now, the back cover, speaking of which, there's a little capsule here of pretty much what's in the book. Set in the contemporary Mississippi Delta, Sensation Blues introduces precocious practitioner McKinley Robinson in pursuit of his quote-unquote it. That's something I say all the time, don't I? With beloved older brother Paul off to play college football across the country, McKinley pours himself into his blues passions, hustling from the juke joints of Clarksdale's Delta to the neon marquees of Beale Street in Memphis, under the auspices of their hell-raising Uncle Ira. McKinley cavorts with blues legends and courts unavoidable trouble with would-be authority figures on his clear-eyed leap over the cliff of self-discovery.
Yeah.
Did you write
That's the
that,
blurb.
or did somebody else write that?
No, I wrote that. Yeah,
Nice.
I had to hunker down and write the blurb and worked on that. So that's where that's the blurb.
No, it's very good, man, because
Thank you.
that's why I said I say that all the time, about people like Samantha Spano, Laura Cheadle. They have it. They have that ability to produce good original music as well as sell it to a crowd. A lot of people don't. They may have one or the other, but it's rare that you get that combination of both with the drive
Yeah.
to make it succeed. Marquees of Beale Street. Beale Street, I thoroughly enjoyed. I thoroughly enjoyed Memphis. It was real. It was authentic. It's a shame you're only there for 2 days.
Oh,
I was there for 4 and it wasn't long enough. Nashville, to me, I love Nashville. Overpriced, over-commercialized. You know where I had the best time? Place called Printer's Alley, Bourbon Street Blues in Nashville.
yeah. I was actually there this fall for something else. And yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, Clarksdale, I'd take Clarksdale over both those places.
If I had more time, Clarksdale, Mississippi is only 77 miles from Memphis. I would have driven it.
Yeah. Less than an hour and a half.
Now, how important is that authenticity of blues music to this book?
I was kind of worried about it, but I realized this isn't the Clarksdale or the blues novel. It's just a Clarksdale, a blues novel. So it's a contribution, like I was saying, a contribution to music scene, that what I do. But it's very important to me to be authentic. Like I said, I did a lot of research to kind of make sure I knew what I was talking about. And that's one thing that is a theme of the book, in the way that Ira instructs his nephew. Like, if you're from Clarksdale, he tells him you got to know where you come from. So we're starting at the beginning. We're going to Charlie Patton. We're going to Son House and Robert Johnson. Before you can, have fun with Jimi Hendrix, before you can have fun with Chuck Berry, you got to learn all these acoustic blues so that you know where you're from. So I know there's one band that I really like called the Paper Shakers. They're in Philadelphia.
Oh, cool.
And they do 50s and 60s rock. And they told me one time, in one sense, they think of it almost like a civics lesson. It's like, hey, remember these songs? These songs are important, and we're gonna play them, and we're gonna have a good time doing it, obviously. So I like that approach, where it's like, hey, here's something about Son House that I think's important to know, or some songs that I think are important to know. We can even set one up. There's a great Son House song. It's called Shetland Pony Blues, and it's from the early 40s, those field recordings, where I think Alan Lomax, I think was his name, he'd go down and record people. He was like, I'm trying to find Muddy Waters. I'm trying to find these people. And then he would, and then he'd record them. And this Son House song, he was playing, I think, just on a porch in a place called Lake Cormorant, which there's no lake anymore. But it's pretty remarkable, because if you're listening to it, it's a great blues song, but then you can hear something start bubbling up in the middle of the song, and it's a train. You can hear a train coming through. So it's just kind of a remarkable artifact of that era, and that's one of the key Son House songs that and Death Letter Blues and a couple others are emphasized in the book.
You have that?
I
queued
do.
up, Producer Claire?
Shetland Pony Blues.
There you go, on Rock On Radio.
Why don't you catch my saddle and saddle up my black mare? Why don't you catch my saddle, saddle up my black mare? You know I'm gonna find my baby down in anywhere somewhere. Well, he's a saddling horse, and he don't deny his name. He's a pony. He don't deny his name. You know the way he can travel, boy, go down the shame. Look at your horse, come on and let's go. Let's be saddle on down for the Gulf of Mexico. You know he's a traveling horse, and he don't deny his name. He's a traveling pony. He don't deny his name. The way he can get out is a low down. Oh, Lord, a shame. You know, I'm talking about the rain and I led him around and around. Took it for the rain, I led him round and round. You know he's the best in the world, but he's the best ever in this town. Why don't you come up here, horse? Come on and let's us go. I said, get up now, horse. Come on, now let's us go. Let's be sound down on the Gulf of Mexico. You got 4 stocking feet and great long curly mane. He got 4 stocking feet, great long curly mane. He got a monkey motion like a high-sea old passenger train.
There you go.
Nice.
There's some blues for you.
Real.
Now there could be. Now I'm gonna tell you a very quick, funny, haha, and odd story. Years back, I was in a blues band named after the Buddy Guy doing Mr. Lucky, right? Mr. Lucky was this blues band, and we were together for literally 20 minutes. It's the first time any of us had ever jammed together. First time any of us ever been in a room together. Well, no, that's not true. First time as musicians. Let's put it that way. And a guy happened to be walking, that owned the rehearsal space, happened to be walking past and goes, "Man, how long you guys been together? You guys sound great. You want a gig?" And we started laughing, and we're like, about 20 minutes. This is the first time we ever played together. He's like, "No way." We wound up playing the first ever pork roll festival in Trenton, right? But that band concentrated on all kinds of different blues music. So, and we worked a lot. We used to play at Point Pleasant. We used to play in Trenton. We used to play in Princeton. We used to play down in Pennsauken. We used to all over the place. So when I was trying to get people to come to the gigs for a night of music, they're like, "Well, what is it, blues music?" Nah, forget it. I hate blues music. I actually had one guy say to me, "No, I do not want to listen to go in the bathroom and hang yourself from the light fixture music."
Boy.
That's just...
And I'm like,
Ignorant.
"Whoa." Exactly, that's ignorant.
That's ignorant.
Now, but then you listen to like recordings like that and you think, okay, maybe he's got a point. But that's because they don't appreciate everything that's sprung from those recordings. And unless you educate or read great books like Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel, people aren't going to know. Now, do you find now, obviously in your inner circle with your father and your brother, and you have some blues enthusiasts that you associate with. Do you find it hard, though, to get people to want to accept blues music?
I hope not, because this just came out last week, so I'm hoping people gravitate towards it. But
no, not the book itself, but
blues
the subject
music?
matter. Yeah.
Actually, I find that more bands these days, out of the, even out of the New Brunswick scene, they have a huge appreciation for blues. There's one, Tula Vera, which we can listen to later. Also, Shred Flintstone. I know they're into blues.
Oh, cool.
So
love it.
Yeah, they have a cool name. But no, I think even if it doesn't, manifest in what they play at, little clubs and stuff in New York and Jersey City and places, I find people still really like the blues. So I think I don't think it's going anywhere. You might not hear as many blues bands, but I think it's not, it's kind of still bubbling along.
Because I'm not going to kid you. My blues music show, which can be heard at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on WWFM out of Trenton and WWNJ out of Toms River. I struggle to get people to in here. Apparently I'm big in the Netherlands and Helsinki and Europe.
Yeah, Poland
And
I think
Japan.
Poland's got a big blues scene. I can reach out to them.
Japan, though. Japan. Bigger there than I am here in the United States. And I just find it a struggle sometimes to get people to escape that stereotype of this boring, blues music. And unless I can physically force them to watch Beth Hart or Eliza Niels or my friend Gina Coleman and Misty Blues or Early Times or any of these newer Kenny Wayne Shepherds of the world, the Kingfishers of the world, unless you could force the Big A. What a show. I don't know if you saw him when you were in Clarksdale, but up here he was amazing.
Yeah.
Unless I can physically force them, it's hard to get people to want to listen to blues music because it's kind of got this
Negative connotation.
negative reputation.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that there's jump blues and swing blues and Delta blues and Chicago blues and Texas blues and
We'd say spooky blues now.
Yeah, spooky blues.
Screamin' Jay Hawkins. I mean, he's the original I Put a Spell on You. He was,
Yeah.
that-
spooky.
the
Yeah.
crazy Screamin' Jay. So it's just a very difficult thing, I think.
Well, hey, remember that movie, was it Crossroads with Ralph Macchio?
Yep.
That-
Steve Vai was the devil,
The Devil.
the guitarist.
I think there was a decent little blues bump after that. So, and like you said, it's cyclical before. So, and hey, I'm still gonna listen. So it doesn't,
That's right.
I've got my blues and
Well, speaking of which, how did the party go, man, at the Divey?
ooh,
At the Ivy Inn in Princeton.
yeah,
Diving.
the diving. Have you been there before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's where he got the name Divey.
yeah. It's a wonderful place. I was actually there before I came here because it was on the way, and it was awesome. The weather was amazing this past Saturday, so we were outside from 2 to 5, and I had my stack of books, and my wife was there helping me, and
Were you in the back or the front?
we were in the front.
Oh, nice.
Off the
Okay, so
side
you
of the
got
door.
street traffic.
We did, yep. And I had, my parents came up. They moved to North Carolina a couple years ago, so they came up for the weekend. My brother came down from New York, and a bunch of cousins like from Ohio, New York, aunts and uncles from all
So
over.
cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and even some work friends and some Ivy friends. I've been going there for 10 years now, so I've racked up quite a group over there. And yeah, it was just a perfect kind of celebration, and I was there signing books and selling books, and I had a blast. So it was just a great day. Got some really good photos out of it, and it was almost like a wedding where I could only spend a minute or two with people before I had to do something else.
Right.
So it was that kind of experience where it's like, oh my God, this is crazy, and then it calmed down after a couple hours.
Now, is this available online only, or were you selling books at this event? And will you be selling them in the future at your other signings you have coming up?
Yes, right now I have a stash, a personal stash, and that's what I bring to events. So you can get bulk orders of your own stuff. But if we have listeners in the Netherlands or Mississippi or California, they can just go right to Amazon. I haven't talked to anyone in Europe, for instance, but it should be available there. Amazon.eu or whatever your local. So yeah, anyone should be able to get it. And I do want to reach out to European blues societies because there are a lot of them. There's blues fans all over the world. Even South America has blues societies. So that's the kind of those are my kind of target. One cool interaction I had was on Saturday was first we set up at 2, but I was ready at like 1:45, and the first guy comes up and he's wearing like Delaware Blues Society shirt, And he's like, "Oh, you're the guy I'm looking for. I saw this in the paper, and I was like, this is the book. This is exactly what I'm looking for." And we just started talking for 15 minutes about blues and his story with it, and that's the kind of people that this is for. I dedicated it to blues fans everywhere. That's the dedication, not to an individual, but blues fans. It's really for blues fans. It's for people like me that I love the blues and I want to read a fun rock and roll novel about the blues, and it goes into covers pretty much all the blues that you got. So that was a great interaction on Saturday. He might have been one of the only random people that came by. The rest were like family and friends. So I'm wondering how the next bunch of events will go.
Nice.
I got to pick off record seekers at record stores. So, but no, it was like exactly what I had been hoping for. I talked to the owner like a year ago, like, we're going to do it. And he was always, yep, come on down. And just perfect day. I love that bar. I met so many great friends there. I met my wife there. When I moved to Princeton, I didn't know anyone. So I was, I kind of gravitated towards the pool table at the Ivy. And I owe a lot of great friendships to it. So,
Nice.
What took you to Princeton?
A job. I was 20. I'd been working at WCBS, first job out of college. That was more part-time, weekends, overnights. So then I was able to get a 9-to-5 out in Princeton area.
Oh, okay.
I did that for a year. The company actually moved to Arizona without me. And so I was able
Did
to
they tell you?
reset. Oh, yeah. No, the time
Came
was-
in one day.
time was
Why is
tight.
everybody gone?
Yeah, the key didn't work anymore. No, but I moved home, bounced around for a couple of years, and I actually just wanted to be back in Princeton. So that's when I got into my current situation. And yeah, it's been a great town for me.
Nice.
There's a lot going on in Princeton. Book events. There's always speakers coming through the university town.
Yep.
And it's just a great town. So
There's even a
definitely suited me.
bluegrass. I know Robbie George, Professor Robbie George has his bluegrass every once in a while. I go out there and he'll have the old time bluegrass people come in, Scruggs and everything, and he plays the banjo, and that's always fun too. I like that.
CBGB, bluegrass and blues.
Yep. What?
Forget Robbie George. Lillipizes is in Princeton.
Well, that was
Oh,
the
yeah,
next
Little
thing I
Pies.
was going to say.
Yeah, right.
It was. It was, seriously.
Yeah, if Robbie George would take me to Lillipizes and buy me something, then maybe I'd think about promoting him.
Well, I like Robbie George, whether you like him or not.
And I actually, who showed up? The mayor of Princeton came by on Saturday,
Cool.
and I was telling him, I was like, "Oh, fun fact! I wrote most of this on Spring Street in downtown Princeton, which is around the corner from
In Chuck's?
Princeton Record Exchange. Yeah, it's right next. It's down the street from Chuck's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a Princeton dream come true.
Nice. Nice.
Where at? There ain't much on Spring Street.
I had an apartment there with a couple of buddies, and
Oh, is that where you lived?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's where I was living.
Oh, all right.
So,
I was gonna say, where'd you other than Chuck's or the parking garage and
couple of vintage
that
stores.
little restaurant? Yeah. Websites and everything again. How do we find this book?
Yeah, www.sensationblues.com. It's got everything you need there about the book, a little stuff about me. I've got an Instagram, and those are my main places of where I post stuff. Because I'll post my music articles. Anytime I do an article, I'll post it and post some photos of the band.
Now,
or
who do you
just-
write for?
I write for New Brunswick Today, which is a kind of a hyper-local news site. I do the music stuff. They cover, Middlesex County politics, and I think the last article was about the water utility and issue at the water. So it's very local, but the cool thing with that is the music scene is generational. So I get a lot of good feedback and readers based on those articles, especially when I can tap into something cool from the 80s or 90s or 70s.
Nice.
And then also Look at My Records is a blog up in Jersey City.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do a lot of, they put on shows. The guy who runs it, Tom Gallo, does a podcast. He also does a cool archive. He has these tapes from a guy who went to all these shows in the 80s and 90s at places like City Gardens and Maxwell's.
Really?
So he's digitized all these shows, and there's some really cool ones that I've listened to.
What's his name?
Tom Gallo, and then his Mackenzie tapes are the Tape Project. So there's a lot of...
Why do you know that name?
It's a cool place.
Yeah, why do we know that name?
I don't know.
Well, Randy now at the Man Cave
Yeah.
is the one
Love
that
Randy.
used to book all the
City Garden stuff, yeah.
bands. Oh, so you know Randy.
Yeah, I've been over his shop a bunch of times, and he's so nice and friendly.
Yeah.
So always talk about something.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy.
He just moved too. The new one, you mean?
Heightstown.
In
Heightstown
Yeah.
from Bordentown.
Yeah, he moved from there.
Really cool record shop.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother Todd
Todd the Mod.
Yeah, that's right.
owns
Starving
a
artist.
restaurant right down the road here.
Stockton.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
that's good. He's been on right before he opened the shop. He came in.
Yeah.
Yep,
Nice.
he's great.
Well, we got some more music we can get to, right?
we can,
Which one would you go ahead?
Let's do. This is a Freddie King swinging blues track called Sensation, and it was the working title for Sensation Blues for a while. Now it's spelled SEN-SA-SHUN, and so I was calling this Sensation for a while, and I sent the copy of it to my dad and my brother, and he was like, it's a little confusing. So then it was Sensation Blues, and then I just dropped the, his phonetic spelling of it and just called it Sensation Blues, as you see now.
Nice.
So this is a fun track for sure. Instrumental.
There you go. All right. Rock On Radio with author Bennett Kelly here.
Woohoo.
And his book, Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel, was just released. Right?
Yeah,
Within the
get it
last
while
week
it's
or
hot.
so.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hot off the press.
Very hot. Hot. Yeah, it's a rock and roll novel. It's really a blues novel, but rock and roll novel covers it too.
Mm-hmm.
But I put that on the cover.
So what is the quote unquote end game with this book? I mean, obviously you want to sell books, but is there something deeper?
No. Yes. So
No, but I have
blue
to think
can
of
you
something
get?
quick.
So deeper and deeper. Well, I was telling another friend of mine, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today. Or there's wars, there's hurricanes, but like that Rolling Stones song, it's only rock and roll, but I like it. So this is just me pouring my heart into some blues and rock and roll music, which I think music and sports is something that always brings people together. So that's one way I look at it. And then another is it's part of a bigger project. So the way I wrote it was I kind of wrote it backwards. Not backwards. I had the idea backwards, and there were 3 kind of defined sections. And then as I wrote it, I hand wrote it, and each section kind of took a year. And by the time I finished that, I reread it, and I realized just based on what I had that each section could be its own book. And so up next for me is I've got this fun fall worth of stuff that I'm doing around record stores and meeting people and promoting this. And then at some point early next year, I'll be back working on the second one. And if you get a few pages into the first one, you can probably figure out where it might be headed. But I also, I love blues, but I also love other music. I think we mentioned the Beatles and stuff. And another leg of this would be that I tried to reimagine the Beatles Hamburg era in a modern context. So if you like the Beatles, this series is going to be for you. Right now we're in the blues. We got McKinley learning the blues, and you'll see where that takes him. But there's definitely more to come in the series and for me to work on.
Okay, cool.
So I got to get back to it.
Nice.
But I'm going to take some time to enjoy myself.
Yeah, well, it took you 7 years, you said, to write this one. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it did
obviously
like a
you
year.
did a lot of research on it, so...
Like a year of research, then maybe a year of writing each one, and then, I had to, a year and change maybe, and then editing and kind of professionalizing stuff. It took a little time, but I'm right on. I think we were talking about this. We'd be talking about this as a family, like years ago. I'd be like, I'll get there. It'll happen someday, and then it culminated in that great party we just had. So it was a really nice moment to kind of reflect on.
Yeah, it's great. Your family came in from all over the place.
Yeah, that was really nice. Thank you, family. You know who you are.
You know who you are.
Because normally, those book signing events and those sort of things, so many times you just see the author sitting at the table. People just walk past. Nobody even stops to say, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
Yeah. No, we ran up a huge bar tab because I was giving drink tickets out. That was the special. If you buy the book, you get a drink ticket.
Nice.
And then which
Brilliant.
covers itself.
Brilliant.
So it was a party. It was emphasis on that.
That's why I have 12 of these books in the back of my truck.
Yeah, we were giving out multiple tickets. Like, here, take another.
That's great.
Take 3, get one.
Nice.
But it was perfect. It was a great day. It'll be hard to top, so I'll have to think about how to top that.
It's true.
Now, one of the things I had spoken earlier about was
What?
one of the things I had spoken earlier about was the cyclical nature of the blues. And right now, and I just mentioned a handful of them, Eliza, Gina. I have interviewed Joanne Shaw Taylor a couple of weeks ago. And right after that, I interviewed Joe Bonamassa.
Mm-hmm.
And one of
Jersey
the things
guy.
that Joe said to me was the same thing. Blues is cyclical. He came right out and said it. But he did tell me He thinks his time is done. I had my time. I had my moment. I helped bring the genre back to that surface, and now I'm handing it off to the next group of people. And I'm like, yeah, but Joe, whenever I ask anybody who their favorite blues guitarist or, who, if they could play like anyone, Bonamassa is one of the first, if not the first name off their lips. Mm-hmm. And he said, and that's great, and I appreciate that, and I think it's fabulous, but, I hit my peak. Now I'm kind of like that, riding off into the sunset. He said, not that I'm ever going to quit or I'm ready to quit, but there are others behind me. I said, well, I noticed a lot of women are finally starting to make inroads. I spoke to Carolyn Wonderland. She was at the Lizzie Rose last week. She's from Houston. At the age of 14, 15, something like that, she used to take her mother played guitar, used to take her mother's Stratocaster and sneak into the blues clubs. And she said she'd be up on stage, 14-year-old girl in some juke joint in Houston playing with these guys that were in their 30s to 80s. And never once was she asked to leave. Blues is the only genre, and it's easier now for women, I think, than, not that it's easy, it's just easier than it was back in the days of Memphis Minnie. To break into the blues music scene. If anybody wants to. The Anna Popovics and everything that are happening in today's world. But blues, and you had said it earlier, you could be a 15-year-old kid and sneak into a club and they'll let you play.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a 15-year-old kid, you try to sneak into the local bar and sit at a table in the back and eat peanuts and play shuffleboard. Mm-hmm. They're telling you, get out of here before I lose my liquor license. Mm-hmm. But in the places like Clarksdale and the places like Houston and Chicago, I don't see anything. Keep playing, kid. I don't see anything. Mm-hmm. They turn a blind eye. So it's really cool that the genre itself is so welcoming to allow people in. And it's frustrating at the same time that more people don't take advantage of it. I think. Anyway.
I would have if I could play, but I stink. So
you're right about it.
I have to make it up. Yeah.
Yeah, but perhaps books like Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel. What you're doing here, in my opinion, is exposing the genre to a whole new, possibly a whole new set of fans. They may see this, say, it's a really good book. Let me look up Muddy Waters. Let me look up Chris Stone, Kingfish, Ingram. Let me look, Mm-hmm. So I think it's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the intent. I want this for blues fans and do what I can to support it and try to go back to those places like Clarksdale again because there's just a lot going on there. I remember I read a Kingfish interview once, and he might have been, he's only a few years out of high school. I think he's maybe 25 now. Mm. But he was saying the kids in his high school, Kingfish himself, he likes Drake and he likes different hip-hop artists, but he was maybe the only one who was into blues. Mm. Like you can like all sorts of things, and he's definitely blazing a trail right now, so I'm glad to see it.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of the other artists
somehow.
What was that?
I got to get him a copy somehow.
Oh,
His name's in there
you
a couple
should.
times.
One of the other artists that you mentioned, back from the old Sun and Chess and Stax Records days, was Howlin' Wolf.
Yeah. We have another song.
We do.
Queuing it up.
Mm-hmm.
Which Howlin' Wolf song did you send us?
So this is Rockin' Daddy, and this is off of their London Sessions album. So it's a good merge of eras because Eric Clapton's on it. I think Steve Winwood and Ringo were on this album. And I also always think of when I first heard this because I was hanging out with my friend Tom Sumners in New Brunswick. And we were just hanging out, just ready to go out or something. And he put it on. And I just always think of that moment because the way the album starts out is great. And then I've listened to the song by itself, and it's one where you anticipate the next song, and then if it's in a playlist, it jumps around. But it's one of those albums where it's just play it on through. So a great album, and yeah, this one's Rockin' Daddy, which he did on his own, and then they super grouped it up for this one.
There you go. Bennett Kelly is with us, the author of Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel. And here's one of the songs that helped influence the book, I suppose, by the great Alan Wolfe.
Rockin' Daddy.
I can really rock your name. Yes, they call me rock. I can rock you all night long. I can let you down easy, but I think your money's gone. I can rock it easy. Don't want you to hesitate. I can rock you easy. Don't want you to hesitate. I can let you down easy. Got jelly on the plate. Shake like a willow tree. Call me the rocker. I can really rock a while. They call me the rocker. I can really rock a while. With a real gone mama. Don't let me take your style. I can rock it easy. Don't want to take your style. I can rock it easy. Don't want to take your style. I can let you down easy. Like jelly on the plate. Yeah, he called me the rocker. I can rock you all night. Yes, they call me the rocker. I can rock you all night long. I can let you down easy, but I think your money gone.
Yeah, there's so many classic rock, now considered classic rockers, but bands like Cream and then spin-offs like Eric Clapton and the Stones and Zeppelin. The Grateful Dead, even. You wouldn't think of the Grateful Dead as a blues band, but they Jimmy Reed, you mentioned, they did a version of Big Boss Man. And
Yeah.
they also, their version of Love Light is probably, there's another one of those tunes you thought was the Grateful Dead, and it was Bobby Blue Bland. You know, so there's such a cross-contamination. What was it? And I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember the exact quote, but Mick Jagger said, you know, we took the Stones took American music, redid it, and then sold it back to the Americans. Yeah. And it's true. Very true. But you know how all those eras just all emanate from the same place.
Yeah.
But going forward, we have whole new. Right now, you're kind of at the bridge point. You got the new artists like Kingfish, and Samantha Fish, and Eliza Niels, and Misty Blues, and they're not new. They've been around for 20 years. But they're just coming to the forefront. The Joanne Shaw Taylors, the Anna Popovics, the Carolyn Wonderlands. They're all starting to. Joanna Connor has popped up. Sue. Oh my gosh, drawing a blank on her last name. Anyway, but they're all making these inroads. And as much as they go forward, you can't help but look back. And that's where the two worlds collide, and for the good, I think. So, I mean, but there are people like Kenny Wayne Shepherd just put out Volume 2 of Dirt on My Diamonds. Walter Trout just did an album with Beth Hart, doing some vocals, you know. So, for you, though, where do you see the future? I mean, you have a band. You sent us some music. Where do you see the future of the genre, or your next novel, or this band that you're going to tell us about? Where do you see them going?
Yeah, the future of blues. Well, I guess you'd have to point at Kingfish. He'll be carrying the torch, and you just rattled off a bunch of artists I need to do some research on. But I tie it back. There's bands that respect the origins of blues and origins of rock and roll. Even if they're taking their sound in a different direction, you can get elements of it. So I wanted to highlight a band out of New Brunswick that I really love. They're called Tulavera, and they've been around for a few years. I've seen them a bunch of times, and they just put on a great rockin' show. And I mentioned how I like guitar bands, and both of their guitarists are just fantastic. And they both sing, and they both take lead and stuff. So they're a really great band. And they for a while, they might still be saying spooky blues as a genre. So they really lean into the blues elements. And spooky's a good word because they have a cool aesthetic. And they were down in New Orleans recently, and people were complimenting their whole, what they've got going on is very New Orleans-y. So they've just got a lot going for them. And this song is this is one of their earlier songs, so they might wish I'd play a newer one. But as an introduction to Tulavera, this is a good indication of the kind of guitar work they can do, and kind of shows what they've got. So this is called Sunspot.
There was
Tulavera,
Tulavera.
New Jersey
I like
Rockers.
that. Very cool. Very fun.
That was Sunspot.
Nice.
Nice. Now they're out of New Brunswick area?
They're up in more Brooklyn or Jersey City area, but they played 1 million basement shows in New Brunswick. So that was
Got
my
their
connection to them.
Nice.
Introduction to them.
So once again, I am here with the author of Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel, Bennett Kelly, producer Claire, and myself, Danny Coleman. Because I know you're all dying to remember who I am out there.
It is Danny Coleman's Rock On Radio. So.
Oh, yeah. All right. Websites and everything again, how we find this book?
You can go to www.sensationblues.com. You can find the book on Amazon. You can order it there internationally, too, to all of our international listeners. And my email's on there. Shoot me an email. Or I'm on Instagram as well, Ben Kelly at.
All right.
So find me there.
Very
And
cool.
events coming up that people may be able to find you at, book signings?
Yeah, New Brunswick this weekend, but New York, 2 or 3 in New York and Brooklyn in November, and also one in Philly at Repo Records. Great place. So I'll be posting those. I got to lock in a couple dates for December and stuff, but that info can be found on my website.
Fun.
Great.
Awesome.
Do
How
little
we
meet
doing
and
on
greets.
time?
We are done.
Oh, we're done.
This is fun.
Thanks for coming.
Well,
I'm a radio voice guy now.
That's
there
right.
you go. Now you got all kinds of stuff to choose from. All right. Well, Bennett, thank you, man, so much for making the trip
Thank
and
you.
promoting Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel. Good stuff. Good luck with your career, man. You know,
Thanks.
keep us posted. You know, you're stuck with us now, Bennett.
Family.
I'm in the family. I got the hat.
That's right.
That's right. You got a hat. Anybody who comes on this program, if we can help you promote anything you do in the future, especially if you're involved
Sequels.
with blues music, just let us know.
I'll be back.
Come back for
Yep.
the sequels. Got to hear how it ends.
Correct. Now, I know you're going to find this shocking, but last week I screwed up.
Stop.
Yeah, I said we were going to be at the headliner
This
tonight.
week. That's right. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's next week.
Next week.
And
then have-
Marzano sent us a text. I forget, but the bands are locked in. Peter Pateska, Mark Margolis, and a couple other blues bands I'm not real familiar with. But we will be at the headliner on Wednesday, October 23rd, for a blues music night. Go ahead.
Yep. Bob Del Rosso. So Peter V, Mark Margolis, Bob Del Rosso, and Gary Cavaco.
Oh, Gary's playing. Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
I love it. All right, Bennett, once again, man, thank you. And hopefully we'll see some people at the headliner. 7 o'clock, I think it starts.
I think so.
Yep. So, good luck with Sensation Blues, a rock and roll novel. Been a pleasure having you, man.
Thank you, too. So much fun.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
So until next week, rock on!